Right, listen, there's been loads of news. If you want to get in touch, tweet us at TalkTV, at Virtual Ash, at The James Whale. Oh, by the way, thank you for all the comments. Mostly nice, some interesting, about the podcast that Lady W and I do. The new one is out now, wherever you get your podcasts from. Right, UFOs. I'm always fascinated. In fact, you may remember we used to do a lot, didn't we, on the show when we were doing it every night of the week? Yeah. UFOs, which people kind of play childish tricks on. In fact, I told the producer there'd be his last night if anybody came in here dressed as an alien. And they tried to paint your face green, I wouldn't have it.
Because he disrespects aliens.
Yeah, because, there are, without doubt, species from other planets. Some of them may well be here.
We wouldn't even be shocked if they turned up now. We're so used to it.
Richard Lawrence, Dr. Lawrence, I should say. Richard, okay.
Fine, yeah.
Who I've known for a long, long time.
Yeah.
He is the chairman. Are you the chairman?
We don't have a chairman, but I'm the chief.
The chief.
In a way. Chief spokesman, I was going to say.
Gaffer of the Aetherius Society?
Aetherius, yes. The oldest international UFO organisation in the world right now.
Founded by?
Dr. George King.
Who you knew quite well.
I knew he was a great friend of mine. I spoke to him every day, actually, for the last 20 years of his life.
And he was a man who said that he was he was a sensible, serious man.
Yeah.
None of this, like, months ago, I had this bloke who came in and said he could prove aliens exist.
With his artwork, cherry topping.
Yeah. And in the end, he walked out on me. Well, it's lucky he did.
You were rude about his art.
I heard about it.
He was rude about his art.
Yeah.
What do you mean I was rude about his art? Show me a picture you painted and say, this proves there are aliens.
That's ridiculous.
It's absolutely stupid.
But, I mean, Dr. King was not... I mean, he didn't particularly like doing interviews and things like that. So I think he'd have enjoyed your show because you were ahead of the time. Let's give credit where it's due. Now the stigma's gone. Everybody's doing it with any sense, especially in America.
Well, let's talk about that first, Richard, because in America, and we've just been talking to America, in America they have released a lot of very interesting information.
They have.
Very little of it has been put into the media over here.
It's really weird, even from their point of view, because it's a massive ratings booster, so you'd think they would. I mean, I remember the days I got one piece on the front page of The Sun, which was about the late Prince Philip's equerry when he met an alien. And that was a fantastic story for them. But it's gone quiet, which is really odd.
But every couple of years we have a story. All these military experts have been seeing these UFOs, and we've have that.
It does come out,
and I think just people have got used to it now, and maybe it needs to actually happen now.
It's important, though, isn't it?
Well,
it's
but it needs something more needs to happen now if we're going to.
Well, the whole implication of what's going on is so massive. I mean, let
me just ask listeners and viewers tonight, if you have a question about UFOs while Richard is with us, call him, because he is the man to talk to. There are lots of people around who say they are UFO experts. Richard will tell you that it is a slightly more serious thing than lots of people suggest.
Yeah.
Now, in fact, a lot of people are going on at the moment about climate change, how the planet isn't going to be habitable in the near future. I remember talking to you a number of years ago about how there are Dr.
George King
was in touch with, that they had reassured him that we won't be boiling in enormous whatever.
The planet won't be destroyed.
It'll change.
What about the human race? What about the human race?
The human race has the opportunity to evolve into it. And, of course, the big thing that's missed and is always missed, and yet not on your show, James and Ash, but has always been missed, is the spiritual aspect of this, although it did come up in the US Congress last week, and we might get onto that, but is the spiritual dimension.
Because that takes it out of the scientific realm, doesn't it? People like to just concentrate on...
The whole ecology thing misses the biggest point, and even the ancient Greeks knew this one, and that the Mother Earth is a living intelligence. And, we're all living spiritual souls as well as physical, mental beings. Yeah. And once we address that, then all these problems can be solved, and that's what Dr. King...
But they found actual physical material. They've come out in the last few weeks, so we found... I don't know if it was DNA or biological material they called it. They didn't say what, of alien crashes, of bodies.
They say, and what came out in the Congress hearing, I watched it from beginning to end on the 26th of July, was that they have retrieved, according to a very credible intelligence officer with great experience in the Air Force in America, they have retrieved craft. Now, you have a friend, don't you, who has footage of the Roswell thing. This is his moment, I would suggest.
This is the whether or not the alien autopsy was real. Now, he won't say.
Yeah.
But he, many, many, many years ago, he's a bit of an entrepreneur. He bought the footage.
I think I met him with you once,
from some guy who was looking for different things in America, and this guy came up to him. I should get him on the phone sometime or bring him in, and showed him this piece of video, and nobody could decide, is this real or is it not? But the bloke assured him it was. And it's gone round and round and round. Could it be? It could. I mean, if a lot of people, if we were to tell people today, there are beings from other worlds. They've been here. They're amongst us now. Some of them look like us. Some of them are on a different dimension.
Well, that came up. That very word came up and this was a great thing as far as I was concerned. It's a very brief part of it, but I immediately picked up on that from this same intelligence officer. They have the capability to move from a higher dimension to a lower one, and that's something which I'm sure you remember.
Well, I heard a bit.
I have said, and Dr. King was saying that in the 50s.
He said that the craft were moving like jaggedly. There's no human type craft that can move like that. And
that's another point, but this was a interdimensional, or I think he said quasi-dimensional,
like a wormhole type of thing.
and that this is their capability. This is why they blink in and out. I bet you there's people watching this right now who've had UFO sightings, who've seen them disappear. Not go into the distance, but flash out and sometimes flash back in. They have this control over matter. I think one of the people who was a commander in the American U.S. Navy and Air Force, he basically said that they have a physics which is way beyond anything we have in our physics.
That's interesting.
Now, as I said before, if you want to ask Richard a question, you've got something to say about UFOs, aliens, whatever, call us now. And somebody said, you can give the number out. Well, if you're watching us on TalkTV, the number's on the screen. If you're listening to us on Talk Radio, it's 0344 499 1000. 0344 499 1000. Is there anybody tonight tuned in who's seen a UFO? Often there are, but I'd like you to talk to Richard if you have. DJB has sent us a text, and this is quite interesting. He said, hi guys, I'd like to know why there are so many UFO crash sites. If they are so advanced, why do they crash so often? That sounds funny, but that's quite
it's a good question, I think, and it came up actually in the Congress hearing from one of the representatives. And interestingly, just as a minor point, they were Republican and Democrat. I actually heard this is the only issue in the Congress right now that is bipartisan, the UFO issue. And they want to set up, and we might come back, sorry, I'm not avoiding the question, but they now want to set up a select committee on UFOs. I've done some research in Britain, and we may talk about that, and it's absolutely
But are they in contact, the top
what
people,
they're doing
with the aliens?
But don't let me lose this very good question.
Let's talk about this. Crash sites, why so many if they're so advanced?
Yeah, exactly. And I would say not by accident, or if it is an accident, it's an accident they have allowed to happen.
Why?
And because the other thing that everybody says, I'll believe this when I've got nuts and bolts proof. And if they've retrieved craft, and if they've been allowed to retrieve craft, they've got nuts and bolts proof. And according to these witnesses, these credible witnesses, they're doing reverse engineering on them. So that would be the reason. And I think
they want to be discovered.
If they've been caught, it will be because extraterrestrials have allowed themselves, either deliberately or they've allowed an accident. It won't be just because they can't handle the journey.
I want to talk to you about the moon landing. I want to talk to you about the spaceship.
The alleged moon landing.
Ever closer to Mars at the moment. First, I want to take some calls. If you put your little earpiece in your ear.
Sure.
Where should we go? Let's talk to Matthew in Cheshire. Matthew, good evening. You're on the air. Your question.
Hi. My question is about sort of time portals and perhaps different openings that make things disappear.
Good question.
Yeah, that is a great question. Yeah, well, first of all, time portals. I mean, you know, it's interesting time, isn't it? We could get on a real diversion, but time is measured in two ways, as far as I can tell. One is the movement of planetary bodies, and the other is in mind, because we all know an hour can take a long time or a short time, depending what we're doing and what we're thinking. So, again, they have a control over motion. I believe they can travel at speeds faster than light, which is now being mooted anyway by astrophysicists. And in terms of... Sorry, I beg your pardon, Matthew. Did I interrupt you there?
Oh, that's interesting about travelling fast and perhaps travelling the speed of light.
Have you ever seen a UFO, Matthew?
I've seen a few.
Where?
I've seen one outside my bedroom window.
How come you've seen a few and most people have seen none? What was it doing outside your bedroom window?
Well, we put it down to being perhaps at ball lightning at the time.
Yeah.
But me and my brother, we weren't sure.
What did it look like?
It looked like a football.
Did it hang still in the air, Matthew?
Bright orange red light and looked like a football.
Did it stop still?
It did stop still.
That's the sun.
Well, that's not ball lightning, really, is it? If it stopped still.
Did it not move at all? I mean, what, you left the window with it still there? You didn't? You got bored of it?
No, we followed it with our eyes. It hovered above a house, travelled across a park, went up a hill, and then what made us think it was ball lightning? There was a big lightning conductor up there.
Could be a balloon, couldn't it? One of those.
All right, Matthew, thank you for that.
Thank you for that.
Could have been a drone.
Well, you know, there are a lot of possibilities, and of course satellites is an obvious. So many satellites, Earth satellites up there, but they move in a steady. That's why I asked whether it stopped still. Those other things wouldn't. Yeah. Particularly when there's a wind out and you see a craft stopping dead still in the wind. Okay, that's not.
There was that Chinese balloon, wasn't it? Spy balloon.
And Chinese sky balloons can't get a great velocity. I mean, there's always an attempt, and I found this very early on.
Okay, let's take a couple more calls. James in West Yorkshire. James in Leeds. Good evening.
Hello, good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
I'm ringing to say that I believe they're not actually extraterrestrial, but they're terrestrial.
What, like time travellers or something?
No, that they've been here all along, and when certain things have happened, like an ice age, they've gone underground. I mean, look at their eyes, they're grey, they've obviously had no sun.
All right, James, we got the gist of that. It's not a very good line, thank you. I mean, probably there are beings from other planets that are on different... We talked about this, and there are, we now know, different levels of perception, if you like, and could have been here and could still be here. Some people...
underground, some people.
May have been, not people, I don't know why I use the term people, but some beings could well have 1,000-year lifespans or something similar to that.
Well, that's definitely, they used to call them in India bodhisattvas, and they were ageless beings, and they're ascended masters who are from this earth and don't age. So in that, and they could easily have craft.
Well, we could have that technology.
They could, but one thing about these extraterrestrial craft, and I'm going to call them that rather than UFOs, and I think even the Pentagon say 5% of the military reports they get, which is a tiny percentage of what's actually being seen, 5% they say they can't explain. And they have a capability. Now, it's not quite what James said, but there used to be the idea, well, they must come from China, they must come from Russia. There's some highly sophisticated jet that America's developing that they haven't told us about. That was absolutely blown out of the water. That is absolutely, these witnesses said no. They have the capabilities of phenomenal velocities from nothing. They can control gravity. They can move from water to air to space.
It sounds like we're talking about one species of aliens. Aren't there many different ones? Do they work together, or do they have, you know what I mean?
Well, certainly, I mean, coming to what the Aetherius Society believes, we've always believed in this, and this was regarded as very radical and probably still is by many, in life in this solar system, and we've talked about that before, but multi-dimensional life, you know, not necessarily, even if we could get to Mars, we might not even see life.
Quantum physics sort of stuff.
Yes.
Is it worth us landing on the moon again? I mean, everybody's making a big fuss about the moon landing. Is it worth it?
I wouldn't be. It wouldn't be a priority as far as I'm concerned. I think the first thing we should be doing is looking into, and I suppose I would say this, but looking into those people who genuinely claim contacts, because I liken it to the giving of the Bhagavad Gita, which was given in a chariot by Sri Krishna, and the world media, if they existed, would have arrived, and there he was delivering this great wisdom, this godlike being, and all that the media's interested in is his chariot. It's not about the craft, it's about who's in them, what is their message. Now, I'm the first to say I believe most claimants are false. But I don't believe Dr. King was false, and I don't say he was the only one either.
But Dr. King was in touch.
He was in touch.
And apparently... No, I don't want this to sound like I'm taking the piece. So,
it's okay.
He was in touch with these beings from wherever.
Yeah.
Who were hanging out behind the moon so nobody could see them on the other side of the moon.
I haven't heard that before, actually.
Okay.
But
you heard it here first from James Wales.
But what I will say, to give him his due, I don't know if this goes on a camera or not.
Cosmic Voice.
Well,
that was published in 1958 and was really proved correct this right now. You know, that statement there, on the front of this journal, and he held a rally in Trafalgar Square in 1958. Can you imagine how ridiculed he was?
We'll come back and talk about that in a moment. Going to take a break back after this. Right, we're going to fill in everything with phone calls until the top of the hour. So if you want to talk to Richard Lawrence, call us. We'll try and get you on. Before that, here's a clip you might find interesting from David Gruch, I think.
Yeah, David Gruch.
An intelligence officer, ex-intelligence officer turned whistleblower from America. Look at this.
If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries,
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
And was this documentary evidence, this video, photos, eyewitness? Like, how would that be determined?
The specific documentation I would have to talk to you in a skiff about.
Well, why on earth hasn't that made more in the media in this country?
I don't know what's wrong with the media in this country, and well done to this show for putting it out.
That's all right. Don't keep telling us how wonderful we are. Because
no, but I think well done.
No, carry on. Yeah, no.
Well done for any show who puts it out. But having said that, it should be brain dead, I think. But then I'm biased. I think it should be on the front page of all the newspapers. I mean, that's a massive revelation. All the congressmen and women there, and I watched the whole thing, took this evidence very seriously indeed. They now want a select committee set up in the House of Representatives specifically on UFOs. So it'll be defence,
Why are we
science,
hiding
UFOs.
something? Why are we hiding it? Because I've always been led to believe that as soon as you get into office of power, whether in this country or others, you are informed about all the things that are going on that you can't tell the people. Yeah. And it was Margaret Thatcher.
She said that. That's a quote from Margaret
Georgina
Thatcher.
Brunish.
Exactly. She said you can't tell the people. Why?
Exactly why? It's a very fair question. I think it's all... One of the problems, I think, is it's always been in Ministry of Defences or the Pentagon. And it's, by the way, the programs are going on in Russia and China, Japan, all over the world. This isn't just America, but credit due to America. At least they've been open, they've been honest. I mean, we've been phoning around various committees and other officials in this country to find out why they aren't doing anything, and you get stonewalled.
Well, why are they being honest now? Because they weren't for, 50, 60 years. Why are they now starting to tell us?
I think public demand is actually Donald Trump, who put it into, just before he went, put it into a bill that they had to come out and reveal.
Well, President Carter said he was going to...
Carter said he would.
Guys, I want everybody to have their say, as many as we can. Let's take some calls. Stephen's in Manchester. Stephen, your question, please.
Yeah, it's more of an observation about, evidence. When people say, oh, where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? And then when some evidence does come out, it's us that dismiss it. I feel it's the public that go, oh, it's fake, it's fake. And then someone on YouTube will go, oh, I found out it's fake. Programs like The Proof is out there.
But do we need to know? I mean, it's the same way. Do we need to know if there is a God? Would it help us if we knew? Definitely. I mean, some people absolutely believe rubbish and garbage. I mean, You know, some of these top religions where they treat women appallingly.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into them now. I can't really be proper religions or treat other people appallingly.
Yeah. Well,
But
it's true.
should we actually... thanks for that, Stephen. Should we actually bother? Should we all be worrying so much? Because if tomorrow the Prime Minister went on television and said, I have to tell you, I'm very sorry, we've kept it from the people for long enough. Of course, there are other beings in the universe.
Yeah, but you can't believe anything he says anyway, can you?
Oh, shut up. Oh, why do you talk
He said he'd
nonsense?
get inflation down. So
Why do you talk such
stop the
nonsense?
votes.
If you carry on being so left-wing, right,
No, I'm just
you're
saying,
going to be off.
He's left-wing.
You're going
That's
to be
the trouble,
off.
isn't it?
You are going to be off. And stop interrupting this with your stupidity. Otherwise, I'm going to have to get really brutal with you, okay?
They'll have advanced technologies, the aliens.
Do you want to go back on the streets?
They'll be able to stop global warming,
So-
won't they?
I'm sorry, you're really annoying this. 'cause
Carry
this
on.
was
No,
gonna
ask
be a
your-
good-
ask
now
your
you're making me
question. Go on.
violent.
No, go on.
Is it something that really would freak a lot of people out and people wouldn't be able to live with it?
I think they underestimate the people, and I don't think it's their possession anyway. I mean, we pay for the government.
Yeah, but once
and the
it's out,
public
it's out.
should-
That's probably
should
what
be-
they're thinking.
Yeah, but it should be out. It should be out. It should be open.
But if these if these beings, if these entities are so clever, if they wanted to have everybody know about them, they would do it.
Well, let's boil it right down. Let's see what they've actually done. These entities. What they've done is they've shown themselves, and not just now. You mentioned religions, but one thing I will say about religions, they're absolutely full of UFOs.
Yeah.
The Bible is full of UFOs. I mean, just the Star of Bethlehem alone. You know, we've talked about that before, but that was no star. And then if you go back to the Hindu scripts, Vimanas, full of them, beautiful accounts, and so on. You can go right through history. This isn't new. So they are there. But I do think it is the right of the people to know about this. And I think they're
let's get back to the calls.
Yeah.
Graham in Wolverhampton. Graham, you're on the air. Good evening.
Oh,
Your
hello,
question.
James and gentlemen.
Hello, Graham.
Hello, mate. It's a bit of a philosophical question for Richard.
Hang on. Philosophical
Yes,
question. We're
that
trying to
sounds
get to the... You sure?
Quickly. I like a philosophical
I've got
question.
loads of calls. It's a bit late for that, but go on.
No, I'll be quick.
Where's my
as
button?
As far as Richard's concerned, I believe in UFOs. But does Richard think that these people, these aliens that are visiting our planet, are benevolent or malevolent?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, it wasn't that good a question,
I
but
think
thanks,
it is.
Graham.
It's an
Bye-bye.
important
Thank you.
one because lots of people are putting out scare stories, and frankly,
If they wanted to invade us, they could have invaded us by now.
we wouldn't exist.
No.
It's
And
as simple as that.
So whether we might be a great experiment for some other being somewhere else.
Well, what I do think is, and we were talking earlier about the Ministry of Defence and these, it suits them in a way because they can put out then the scare story, which was prophesied also by Dr. King in writing in 1958 and has happened in the last week. They put out this idea they're hostile. They're obviously not hostile, but this allows the Ministry of Defence to buy more weapons.
We had, and quite rightly too, because they might not be hostile, but some other countries are.
Well, that's different. That's different.
Exactly. So we need the best weaponry.
Well, that's the
don't
thing.
we?
Governments are scared of the they're so ahead of them. They could do anything.
Well, that's the way Ministry of Defence people think, though, isn't it? Are they hostile?
Better to be
What do
safe
we
than sorry,
let's
though, isn't it?
protect ourselves?
Okay, guys. Okay. I don't really want to take that call. We've got so many. Do you really want to give him an opportunity to go on the air? Oh, for goodness sake. Ken in London.
Free speech, James. I thought you believed in free speech.
Oh, get rid of him now. I've had enough of him. Get him off. Free speech, you have him on every single week sometimes. He spends his life...
I do remember Ken, actually. He's a Bible-thumping...
He's a Bible basher.
Yeah.
Okay.
He gets more freedom of speech than anybody else in this country. Ben in London. Freedom of speech.
Lincoln.
Ben, what's your question?
Ben in Lincoln, actually.
You are absolutely right. I'm wrong.
Which is where Ken used to live, ironically.
Evening. It's really great to actually...
No, we know all that, Ben. Ask your question.
Well, my question is it possible that these things are demonic? I'm just wondering if your guest, how he would react to the idea of them seeing it in a theological context.
Are you hang on a minute. Are you a religious nutter?
No, I'm just a religious person.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Because I've got no time for religion. I'm sorry, I know you're a bit religious, but at the moment I've got no time for it.
It's your show. It's
Exactly.
your show.
Heaven and hell, do you believe in it?
I believe in other realms.
Other realms, I
lower
agree.
and higher, and some
Possibly.
of them are good and some of them aren't.
Yeah, but you know, religion has done nothing but dictate to people through history. It has tried to control people through history, and it is not, in my view, a good thing. I don't care whether you're a Muslim or a Christian, just look at the history. Yeah. And it's all right for people to say, oh, yeah, Muslims do this, this and this. But look at what the Christians did during the Crusades.
Look, if we're talking about controlling people, I agree with you.
OK.
OK.
Stephen in Yorkshire, you're on the air. Stephen.
You all right?
No, thank you, Stephen. Goodbye. No, Stephen, I'm not having somebody who sounds like that. Susan in Essex, you're on the air. Hello, Susan.
Yes, hello.
Question.
James. A quick question for Richard.
Hi, Susan.
Is he aware that Prince Philip took a great interest in this subject and had a lot of books and held meetings with different people?
Yes, I am, Susan. Actually, I'm very aware of that because I spoke to his equerry, Sir Peter Horsley, after he retired, and he revealed a lot of things to me, and he also revealed that he was asked by Prince Philip, and one of his jobs as his equerry in the 50s was to sort of keep tabs, as it were, on UFOs. And, of course, that's the period when Winston Churchill, as Prime Minister, was lied to, we know that now, by his own advisors, and he was kept in the dark. The Prime Minister, who had just taken us through a war, wasn't told the truth, so what chance do we have? But, yeah, I'm very aware of it, and actually this Sir Peter Horsley actually met an alien, and I've got the full description of that in one of my books, UFOs and the Extraterrestrial Message.
He always gets a plug-in for his book.
But thanks for bringing that up, Susan.
Susan, thank you very much indeed. Daniel is in... I'm being real. I just want to get as many people on as I can. Daniel in Hull. Hello, Daniel.
Hello there, James and Ash. Yeah.
Question, Daniel.
Do you believe that stars can move? Because I personally saw some stars move, and
shooting
thought it could be UFOs. And if so, what do you think stars moving could be?
Well, some UFO, I mean, the most famous one...
Well, hang on, can I just make a sensible point here?
Sure.
Thanks, Daniel, for that. You look up into the sky and see anything moving. You've got to remember what you see up there is probably hundreds, thousands of years
Of course.
old.
Yes.
But there are shooting stars.
Of course there are. There are
That's a
meteorites,
meteorite, isn't it?
there are planes, there are drones, there are many
stations.
things it could be. But when you get a flight pattern, it's interesting that Daniel was from Hull, because that's where I went to university and had my first sighting, which they used to, in those days, you might remember, call them cigar-shaped objects or flying
15
saucers.
seconds, I'm afraid, Richard, it has always been interesting. We'll get you back very soon.
We over?
The time has finished, and lots of people want questions, so we'll keep reading a few of them out. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for having me.
I thought I had a little longer than that, but we're going to go to the news at 11C afterwards. Thank you.